So I'm in the process of doing a Douglas fir floor refinishing, and I figured might as well do a video. I kind of wish I would have started it earlier and kind of did a play-by-play, and now I'm at the ending point. So really, I guess this video is going to be if anybody has any questions, or if they're doing a Douglas fir floor or a soft pine floor of any kind, if they have any issues or they run into any problems like you would normally run into. Say like Douglas fir is a very sappy wood, so if you're going in to do one, whether it's your own or you're bidding the job, always count on going through a lot of different sandpaper. And also, through my experience, I find the lower the grit to start, the better. This is a really old house. Well, I say really old, 85 years old, but it had termite damage. And they used a lot of linseed oil, along with it being Doug fir, which, as you can imagine, I've gone through countless paths, but this is something that you will most definitely see. And if you don't catch it in time when you're, say, doing your edge work, I think I have a spot over here that I haven't finished yet, it will transfer back onto the wood from the paper. Like that. I ended up deciding not to use my edger because I couldn't get more than 30 seconds of use out of it before the pads gummed up, and it started to do that, transferring it back onto the floor. So I decided to go a different route, a lot more time consuming, but I have a little handheld belt sander and a orbital sander, and I've decided to go that route. Like I said, a lot more time consuming, and to find Douglas fir flooring to match up holes where you'd be repairing seems to be impossible in the area that I'm in. So that's an issue as well. But basically, to run down on how to refinish an old Douglas fir floor, for me it is the same as any floor. I start with a low grit. Myself, I use 24 grit on a drum sander, and I just make my paths back and forth, back and forth. And then I go from 24 to 40 grit, and I do it again until I get down to where I want to be. However, you want to make sure that you know what kind of life you have left in your wood before starting. Again, this is an 85-year-old floor, and I'm guessing it's been sanded down quite a few times, and you'll start to have things like that show up, and that's what you don't want. It cause a fire hazard, and if you try to pound them down with older wood, it probably most likely will splinter, so it's best to not do that. Again, I had a different idea for this video, and now I'm kind of getting off course. I'm just trying to walk you through because this can be very problematic, working with any kind of sappy wood like this, and this is one of the most sappy woods that you'll work with, and you will go through pad after pad after pad. So you'll do your runs with your drum sander, but before you decide to use a drum sander, make sure you're comfortable in using that, because it is very easy to make a mistake with a drum sander that you can't fix. For people that aren't comfortable, they have a square buffer. It's a 4-disc, 7-inch orbitals. It takes 7-inch orbital discs, but it has 4 discs on the bottom. And it's a lot longer of a process, but anybody can use it. You can go any direction with your wood, but with the drum sander, you have to go with the grain. If you find it a spot where you have to cut against the grain, because something's not working. Again, unless you really know what you're doing, I wouldn't recommend it. I had to cut with the drum against the grain right here because, again, my edger just was not doing it. I couldn't do anything with it. And my palm sander wasn't getting down to bare wood. Nothing I was doing was working. And without ordering the sanding discs, I can't get anything lower than 24 grit. So I'm on a time crunch, and I made a judgment call and I cut against, but I was able to fix it. And I got down to bare wood. But if you do have an edger and say 16 grit sandpaper and you're able to get through that, by all means, go for it. But this is where I'm at. I guess I'm just trying to showcase and offer myself available to anybody that needs, some guidance or has any questions for their own floor that they're doing. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Because, like I said again, this is probably the most difficult type of wood to work with when it comes to flooring. And you're going to run into problems. You might even get at a point where you don't want to do it no more and you're ready to walk off the job, but it's never that serious. So always finish your work. It can be fixed. You can do it. This here is almost a 500 square foot job, and this wood is unbelievably beautiful. I really can't wait to see this finished product. It is a shame though that I have to replace some of it, and in my area I cannot find the same type of wood. So I'm still at a standstill with that. And if you end up running into a problem like this is just here so nobody falls through. I had some maple laying around that I put in place of it. The proper way to replace a spot like this, if you were to have something similar on a job, is never just fill the gap, because it will look like shit. So you're gonna have two seam lines and nobody wants that. The proper way to fix a joint like this is to pull up the boards that are running to it, so that way you can keep your stagger and you're not having the same line and the same line. You're just having a squaring floor, because no matter how good you do your floor, no matter what it looks like, your eyes will always go to that imperfection in your floor. And small lines like that, this gives it character. That gives it character. That looks like shit. So, food for thought. Anytime you're doing a repair job on a floor, do it the right way, not the quick way. And also talk to your customer, your client, whatever, about taking the baseboards off, so that way you can get completely under there. And I have talked to my clients on this, and I'm actually replacing all this baseboard. It just hasn't come in yet. So that's another thing, because that is another thing you'll always notice, no matter what, is if you have a view under that baseboard, which there is here, you'll always see that. Well, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. I prefer to capture negative comments to yourself. If you feel like you can do it better, by all means, do it. But again, this was just to try to help somebody if they need the assistance. And I know I didn't say much in this video, because I'm already mostly done with my project, and I don't have the equipment to set up a studio to record everything. But I'm pretty much just putting this out here so that way people have the opportunity and to ask me anything that they are struggling with, if they're struggling. Thanks.